A reminder, use raise hand to ask your questions. We have some questions lined up already. We'll start with Rob Tichkowski. Rob, as soon as your microphone's active, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Hi, Dave. I mean, everybody misses. What? Oh, sorry. Everybody misses their family and everything, but is one of maybe the hidden benefits of this situation that you have a captive audience with no distractions, you know, just a bunch of guys hanging around thinking about hockey, and maybe that's this whole situation is a little more positive than you maybe thought when you started it.
It feels like a road trip for sure. You get on the road, you just concentrate on playing. There's no distractions around, and players, they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. You're especially when you're playing every second night, you just get you get in a rhythm and you have a little practice, and all you're doing is preparing for the next game. So it's the ultimate hockey mindset, and you're enthralled with it every day, and it's a fun tournament to be involved in.
Next question, Jason Greger. Jason, as soon as your microphone's active, you can go ahead.
Dave, just to get out of the way, any lineup changes, number one, and then number two, with you guys now not having last change, I looked at the number. There didn't seem to be any really hard matchups. Do you expect that to change at all for Game 3?
I don't know about that. For us, we've got everybody available, and Koskinen will start in goal again.
Next question, Carol Schramm from New York Times. Go ahead, Carol.
In such a short series, a best of five, momentum shifts might have an even bigger impact than they normally do in playoff series. You guys gathered a lot of momentum from your win on Tuesday. How can you maintain that going forward?
I believe momentum in the playoffs is game to game. You have to recognize what you've done well. You recognize what the other team's mindset is, and you come into the game and you have to play accordingly. So for me, you can call it momentum. I call it consistency. When you play well, you want to continue to play well. When you don't play well, you got to get up and going in a hurry. So I'm not a big believer in that momentum. I'm a big believer in reality. What's your team's mindset? What's the other team's mindset? And you make sure you play accordingly.
Next question, Mark Spector. Mark, as soon as your microphone's active, go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, I just wanted your impressions on the whole tournament here. From where I'm sitting, I'm watching teams start to find their identity, start to hunker down and play a tougher, tighter brand of playoff hockey. Your series started out awfully loose here, and do you see it? The scores coming down a little bit lower as we go on.
Well, I see that from all the games around, Spec. I mean, that's playoff hockey is tight. There's a lot of block shots. There's not a lot of space in there. So you see that as games have gone along. You saw some in the first games, but it seems like the games you're watching now are everything is tightening up a little bit, like you say. So that's just getting into the playoff mindset and doing what you have to do to win games. And you're seeing that throughout the league.
A reminder to use raise hand to ask any questions. We have Ryan Rashad now. Go ahead, Ryan, as soon as your microphone's ready. Go ahead, Ryan. Okay, I have a problem there. Let's go to the next question. Jack Michaels. Jack, go ahead. We'll come back to Ryan.
Dave, when you have certain guys that seemingly are gaining momentum, like Neal, Chason, Athanasiou, you singled out as playing a good game, are you tempted to tinker with ice time, or do you keep them in the same rhythm that has them playing well?
The game dictates the rhythm on how things go, depending on special teams, depending on, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I like when our lineup has rhythm to it, where the coach feels very confident in every line or every player that goes out. And, when a coach has that feeling, your team's playing well. So you keep playing players that give you the best chance to win. But ideally, you're in a situation where everybody's giving you a chance to win, and everybody will get according ice time to that.
I'll come back to Ryan Rashad. Ryan, did you have a question?
Can you hear me now, Dave? Sorry, having some technical stuff here. Okay. Just wanted your impressions on Leon Draisaitl's game so far. People tend to look at the point total first and judge, but what have you seen overall from him?
I think his line's been pretty good. You know, Leon gets judged a lot because of points, because he's a leading scorer in the league, but he does a lot more for us than that. You know, we're asking him to do some things that are not just about points; they're about making sure that we're playing a complete game. So he's been a solid player for us.
Next up, Daniel Nugent-Hopkins. Daniel, as soon as your microphone's active, go ahead.
Hi, Dave. I sincerely apologize if this or a similar type of question has been asked. I was kind of locked out of the Zoom call, but I wanted to ask you about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and just, he seems like he's done so much for this team this year, going from second line center, wing with David, wing with Draisaitl, obviously special teams. What does he bring to this team? How can you sum that up? And how does his role change when he's with Connor versus when he's with Leon?
His role on both those lines is very similar. He's, you know, he's just a real smart player, reads off players very well, makes good plays with good players. So Nuge is a really smart player, really smart player. I first got to know him a little bit in the World Cup a few years ago. He was with our under-23 team. I was running the penalty kill for that team, and you start to interact with him, you understand you know, his skill set. He understands the game very well. And, you know, he's a guy that's easy to play with, and good players want to play with players like that. He's fit in well wherever we put him. He's found a nice niche on the left wing with our team right now, and we like what he's doing for us.
Now another question from Ryan Rashawn. Go ahead, Ryan.
Dave, just a question about James Neal. You know, he's playing some pretty limited minutes, but overall is making a pretty big impact on games. Is he giving you pause for thought and maybe almost forcing his way into some more ice time with what he's shown you so far? And is that a consideration?
Well, like I said, the game dictates some of the minutes players get, and he's played very well. The line has played very well, and you know, you look at last game, we didn't sit anybody out. There's just the way things go. We took 8 minutes of penalties in the second period, so guys get a little bit less if you're not a penalty killer. So he's played very well for us. That line's played very well. They'll continue to play, and you know, hopefully they continue to contribute.
A question from John Setzman. Go ahead, John. So your microphone's unmuted.
Dave, kind of a two-parter. Just want to talk about the art of shot blocking and how important it is. And when does the fear of the risk-reward thing become greater than the issue?
The fear of losing becomes the trump of anything. If you don't block shots, you're not going to win. So it's a fear of losing. And you've got to have a gut instinct that basically is driving you to do everything you can to help the team win. And that's what good players and players that are all in about winning do. You saw a good example of that in the second period yesterday. We had I think there was 6 or 8 shots in a short span that we blocked, and that's just guys that are doing whatever it takes to win and laying it on the line. So that's, guys don't, when you're blocking shots, you're not thinking about getting hurt. You're thinking about helping the team win.
We'll take one final question from Rob Tichkowski. Go ahead, Rob.
Dave, you're sort of in an environment now where everything you say can be heard. I mean, we can hear you all the way up from where we are. So certainly the referees or the opposition bench even can hear things. So strategically, do you have to modify anything, or do you have to maybe watch what you say to the refs? We haven't seen any unsportsmanlike yet, but man, we can hear some of the gold that's coming out of those benches.
Yeah, probably you probably don't have to yell at them quite as loud without fans in there. So I don't yell a lot, but when I do, I feel like I have a point to make, and I don't yell for the sake of yelling. If I have a point to make, I think I'm right, and I'll continue to drive that point until I can at least feel good enough that somebody either acknowledges me or thinks that I might have a point. So, but it is different down there, especially when the game's on. It doesn't seem that much different, but when there's a stoppage or you know, when commercials or just coming on the ice to start periods and stuff, there's a different atmosphere in the building where things are heard a lot more. So it's something you certainly got to be cognizant of.
One more question we have from Jason Greger. Go ahead, Jason.
Dave, you've played 3 games if you include the exhibition one. You came out really strong in the first against Calgary, and then in game 2, and not so much in game 1. Do you ever have a sense from morning skater talking to your guys, or is it kind of, you don't really know what you get until the pucks drop?
You have a feel for your team where it's at, but there's been times when you feel very good and come out and you're not very good, and then there's other times when you're worried about your team, and they come out flying. So it's you try to get a feel, but sometimes it's interesting the way the game is. Just things that happen in the game that kind of dictate how things go. Like your team goes out, if you get an early power play, you don't get any rhythm in your lines before. You like the power play, but you don't like players sitting there waiting to get into it. So there's different factors that happen in every game that kind of dictate the mindset. But usually as a coach, you like to get out, get your lines going, get your rhythm going, and you get a better read on your team if your team's engaged in the game or not. I expect us to, we know that Chicago probably didn't play as well as they liked. We played better. I expect Chicago to play better tonight, and I expect our team to recognize that, and there's still parts of our game that can improve. So it should be, I think it'll be a great hockey game all the way through, start included.
Thank you very much, Coach. Thanks, members.